Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me and welcome to another exciting episode of What's on My CD Wall. Yes, we did the top row here. We did the second row here. We are now down on the third row and I'm going to get into that here in just a bit, going through each and every CD on this row for you guys. Most of you know that I've done a recent video about what's in my 12,000 CD collection, but that was just a broad overview. Now we're doing each individual CD, starting here in the A's and just moving right on through. So we'll get into that in just a bit, but before we start, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things do help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. If you liked the start of this series and you wanted to see the second and you're going to see the third and so forth, that's what turning on notifications will do for you. All right, so let's dive into this here. As I mentioned, we're going row by row, but we're also going CD by CD. So let me just rotate this around just a hair here so we can get right at the very beginning. We are still in the letter B's. That's where we left off last time with some Blue Oyster Cult here. We're moving down into Bad Company. As you can see, I got a few of them sitting right on top, so I'm gonna pull these out and start with these. So first up, we got an archival live album from Bad Company. This is 1977 live and 1979 live. Two live albums in a digipack like so. And I have explained this a couple times before. I just wanna point it out there for anyone that is new. I have another wall of 800 CDs that has my ones that I listen to the most on it. So when we're missing certain Bad Company albums, they're going to be in there. When we're missing certain, other ones like AC/DC, Bon Jovi, they were in there. So if you don't see everything on here, don't think I don't have it. I am a completist. I generally have everything from the catalog of my favorite artists. So out here, you're going to find a lot of best ofs, live albums, or the albums that are my least favorites of things, but you're going to still get a sense of what I've got here. So here's another one. Live at Red Rocks. This is with Paul Rodgers. It's the Reformed Bad Company. Mick Ralph's back here doing this. Just recorded and done and released so that they can keep the rights to the name, but I still had to pick it up. This one here was a really good one though. Live at Wembley. I did like this one, enjoyed very much. There you go, Paul Rodgers on the back side of it there, keeping the name going. But we're gonna jump back now all the way to the debut album. This is one of the reissues of it that has the bonus disc, and that's what I really liked about it. It's got the B-sides, the outtakes, the alternate versions, so that was very cool. Coming in with the next one, Straight Shooter. Love this album, same thing. 2 CD set with all the outtakes and everything. These are great. And Run with the Pack. I haven't picked up the other ones. I've got them still as single disc editions, but either way, good. So those are classic. I love those albums. Oh, here's the single disc ones. There you go. Burning Sky. Probably my favorite, actually, of the older albums. I do like this one, too. Desolation Angels. And I always like the art of this one, too. Way stuff was cut out. I thought it just really kind of added a little pop and punch to this art-wise. All right, Reunion Era with Brian Howe on vocals. I love that era, but I don't really care for this album, Fame and Fortune. So the other 3 or so albums, however many they made after this, I think there's 3 more, they're in the other room because I do pull those out. Dangerous Age was a fantastic one. Now, of the live albums, the Brian Howe live album, which is called What You Hear Is What You Get, I always really enjoyed this one. But again, I grew up on the Brian Howe era, so those are going to be, my more favorite eras of things. When Paul Rodgers first came back to the band, they recorded this live album called Merchants of Cool with 2 new tracks, including that song. Absolutely fantastic. Really bummed me out that they never made a full-length album after that. And at this point, it actually doesn't look like they'll ever do that. The latest Paul Rodgers solo album, I think, was intended to be a Bad Company album, and it just never developed into that. There was talks that they were working on it, they were writing it and everything, and a few years went by and nothing, and then lo and behold, a Paul Rodgers solo album appeared. So that's my take on it, at least. All right, the band British Lions, and this is not British Lion, non-plural, that is Steve Harris of Iron Maiden. These are the guys from Mott the Hoople, continuing under a different name. So I've got that album, which is really good. If you're a fan of Mott the Hoople, if you're a fan of that era stuff, or you're just a fan of good 70s rock, this is a great album right there. All right, we're moving into some Blackfoot, and you got to start off with the classic Strikes, Train, good stuff. Not my favorite though. I love Tomcat, and that's a really good one. And this one here, Marauder, also. I got into Blackfoot a little bit later, so I like that 80s sound that they do. But my favorite, I think, is called Medicine Man. It was their very early 1990, I think, era album. Rattlesnake Rock and Roll, best of album. Good stuff. That one went all the way up through that album in the 90s that I liked. Here's a Blackfoot album, but Ricky Medlocke is not really part of the band. He does play on it. He did co-write the songs, but it's actually, he picked these 4 musicians to be Blackfoot. There's a photo with Ricky Medlocke, part of the group. So he's in control of it, but you know, he's not really doing the thing. It's he got other people playing the role of the Blackfoot band. All right, we're moving on. BBM, which is, well, it doesn't even say right there. So let me think about this. This is Gary Moore, Ginger Baker, and, wow, I'm totally spacing on who the other B is, but there's the photos on the backside. So we can see Gary Moore, Ginger Baker. Whoa, totally spacing on it. Anyway, I'm sure you guys figured out. You can let me know. But I got this great album nonetheless. This is an interesting one. Buster Brown, their one and only album. It's called Something to Say. And we have 2 guys that would go on to do other things. We got Angry Anderson on lead vocals and Phil Rudd on drums. Phil Rudd from AC/DC and Angry Anderson going on to his band. So all in all, very cool. Rose Tattoo guy, AC/DC guy in this band. It's a great album too. I love finding that. All right, got some Graham Bonnet stuff. His earlier solo projects were not as heavy as the stuff that he did with Rainbow, but I picked some of the stuff up along the way. Self-titled Graham Bonnet album. This one is the one that sounds like Rainbow. If you want a Graham Bonnet album that sounds like that, pick up Lineup. This is really, really good. It's recorded with a lot of the guys from Rainbow. This is 1981 Records release. It's out on Lemon Records, who does a really good job with those. Here Comes the Night, later era one that I thought was going to rock, and it totally didn't. But then Underground, really good one. Slash is on this one here. Not the whole album, obviously, just guesting on some of it there. But I like this one here, called The Day I Went Mad. This one is a really good one of his later day era solo albums. Very, very good stuff. We've got a live one here from Graham Bonnet Band. This one here, Live in Tokyo 2017, both a CD and DVD release. And I've got the other recent Graham Bonnet Band studio albums. I think there's 3 of them now. Really, really good stuff. Absolutely loving those. Moving in to some Black Country Communion. So we got the debut album here. Continuing on with Black Country Communion 2. There's a new one on the way as well. We've got, is this Afterglow? Almost called it Afterlife. We've got Live Over Europe, another fantastic live album. It's a double. And then Force. We got the 5th Black Country Communion album on the way. I can't wait for that. That's coming out maybe April, might be May. Can't quite remember. Too much stuff going on to remember all that stuff, but I keep lists of those things so that I can easily track it, let you guys know. Stan Bush, an absolutely phenomenal album. This, I think, is the debut Stan Bush album. He'd later become more popular for having done the theme song in the Transformers cartoon movie. I think it was around 85. But I love this album. This one here, first track, It's Hot, Fire in My Heart. Oh, so good. This was out on Sony Records. If you ever come across this one and you want some killer 80s rock, this is where it's at. I pulled that one out a lot, including one of the ones that's coming up in just a minute. But first we're going to do Blackjack, which is actually a Michael Bolton band with Bruce Kulick in there. So before he was a crooner and doing all that ballad and stuff, he was a rock and roller, and this is the album I was talking about. When I listen to that Stan Bush album, I've always got to pull this out, the self-titled Michael Bolton album. It is so good. Forget all that stuff that you know from him. This is where it's at. Fool's Gold, the opening track on here, Fool's Game, I should say. Very, very good. You guys have seen if I've done some of those rarities, albums I've got, or ones that have flown under the radar, best albums of the '80s, most overlooked albums, that kind of stuff. Those two albums generally make my list whenever I'm doing those. All right, the second rock album that came from him, Everybody's Crazy. Not as good as that first one. More metal, actually. But there is that album. Got a promo of the Byrds box set called There Is a Season. This is an advanced release, 4 CDs. I think it was like $4. That's why I picked it up, because it's just a promo copy. And I don't have the box set, but I thought, hey, it's a great way to get the music. So have that. All right, the Buggles, Age of Plastic. Of course, we'd have two of these guys, Trevor Horn and Jeff Downs, both go on to join Yes, which was just crazy. I mean, you listen to this and you wonder how it was ever conceived that they should join Yes. But Drama, the album they're on, is my favorite of the Yes albums. And so I go back and I listen to this stuff. But this next one, called Adventures in Modern Recording, is actually more closely related to Yes. In fact, it includes some of the original versions of the songs that they contributed to Yes, like the song I Am a Camera is on here. So yeah, if you've ever been looking for more stuff that sounds like the Drama album, less like the new wave poppy stuff of the Buggles' first album, this is the album to pick up, to have. And I think they just reissued it as well. All right. Tommy Bolin, Teaser. They call it a deluxe edition, but there's absolutely nothing bonus about this. I think they just put it back in print and thereby called it that. All right. Private Eyes, his second album. Good stuff, but very different. This one here is much more soulful, R&B flavored than the first one. Whips and Roses, this is a promo edition of it. Whenever you see these things, I used to be able to go to stores and find these things in the 99-cent bin because they were promos, so I'd buy them up even just to check things out, and then sometimes the albums would go out of print so fast that I never found a full version of it on not the promo version to pick up and replace, because that's usually what I would do. All right, moving into Lindsey Buckingham, guitarist for Fleetwood Mac, or now he's former guitarist with Fleetwood Mac. But we have Law and Order, the debut, which I'm not really a fan of that one. I like this album so much more. Go Insane. This album is fantastic. I could listen to this one all day long. This one here is even better than that one. This one is called Out of the Cradle. Hands down, the best non-Fleetwood Mac recorded album, I think, is this. Yes, I even think it's better than the Stevie Nicks albums. I think I've got his whole catalog right here. Under the Skin, good stuff. Gift of Screws, one of the really good later day era albums that he did. Seeds We Sow, absolutely fantastic. But these last two are where it's at. Paired back up with Christine McVie. So Lindsey Buckingham, Christine McVie, making an album with John McVie on bass and Mick Fleetwood on drums. This is a Fleetwood Mac album, just minus Stevie Nicks. Don't know why they didn't just call it Fleetwood Mac, but it's awesome. Love that. And the brand new, or the newest, I should say, Lindsey Buckingham solo album, which I think is just self-titled. So good. If you've never checked these out, but you're a fan of Fleetwood Mac, do yourself a favor, check these out. Oh, God, I love them. Okay, Box of Frogs, former Yardbirds guys get back together under this name, get a whole bunch of cool guitar players to come out and join them. So there's that album and their follow-up album, Strange Land. Fortunately, they only made those two albums. I wish they had made more. Such good stuff. Oh, hey, since we already covered it, I'm going to throw it in here now. Those two Graham Bonnet albums. There's a third one out there too, but I didn't realize they were sitting on top of this here. They just haven't been filed away. So there you go, some more Graham Bonnet for you guys. All right, moving into Jackson Browne. We got For Every Man. Man, the stack is getting tall. If I rotate this around, you can see that it's already reached up to the height of the camera here. All right, next one up, Late for the Sky. These earlier ones, not as big a fan as some of the later day stuff. I definitely like what he did starting around like 82 on. The Pretender, this is much more of the guitar, folk guitar sort of stuff. Love this though, Running on Empty, except I really only like that one song. I've tried to love this album. Cool concept, all recorded live. new songs that were recorded live, gathered up for the album. I've always loved that idea, but the album as a whole just doesn't work for me as much. This is another good one, later day era one in the 80s. World in Motion, I do like that one a lot. And this one here, I'm Alive, came right after that. But this one here, this is my first Jackson Browne album that I got, Looking East. Absolutely fantastic. I didn't know anything about him. It was set up in a station where I could listen to it when I went into the music store. And I just fell in love with it. And from there, I went back and explored all this other stuff. I've got a 2 CD best of from him. Sometimes I just like a best of because the way they sequence the songs, it's just a different way of listening to it. And I don't really want to just pop on one album of one era, so I throw those on sometimes. Here's another promo one that I had. Solo Acoustic Volume 2. There was no cover with it, but it was still the album, so I picked that up. All right. Then Standing in the Breach. I think this is his newest album. I could be wrong, but I got that. Time to Conquer. We're moving on here to Brother Cane. A really underrated band from the early 90s. This album here in particular, fantastic. The song Got No Shame. The 2 albums they did after this, which I have one of them, Wishpole. I'm actually still missing one. I think it's called Seeds. But I've never actually found that one used to be able to throw into the collection, although one day I'm sure I'll come across it. All right, and then we got some Dickie Betts. His album, this one here, Pattern Disruptive. All right, I'm trying to keep this thing from toppling over here. And Jeff Beck's Guitar Shop. I've got a bunch more Beck. And we continue on with the B's after that, but you can see the whole thing is empty there. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If I turn this over here, you get to see how tall the stack actually got next to me. So I was keeping such an eye on that, trying to get it in there. But hopefully you enjoyed this, getting to learn a little bit about what's in my collection here. And again, continue to let me know if you're still enjoying these, and we'll just keep going on down. Not sure how I'm going to get the camera down low enough to do these other ones, but we'll figure it out next time around. All right, everyone, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.